Hello and welcome to Covey Woodworks. I'm Stuart Covey, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to apply a CA finish to your hand-turned wood pen. So what I have here is a partly turned down barrel to a pen kit I have, and so I'm going to turn it down a little more to get it down to the correct size. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to turn it about 0.2 millimeters below what the components of the pen kit are, and then we will apply our CA finish to the right size. What we're going to do is we're going to apply a couple coats. Once we get down to the size, we're going to apply a couple coats of thin CA, about 3 to 4, and then we're going to build it up to the correct size with medium CA. That varies for me because I'll just turn this down below the components and then I'll just build it up until it matches the correct size. So there's no specific amount of medium CA. It's usually between 6 to 10 coats, so we'll see what that does. But what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be applying a little more CA than we need, and then we're going to take a sharp skew and we're going to smooth out the CA and also take it down to the correct size. So we're going to apply the CA more than what we need, and then use a skew to smooth it nice, make it nice and smooth, and then we'll go into buffing. So that's a final stage of getting to the correct size is by using the skew, because that way you can get it within exact and not just relying on how much CA you put on when you're putting the coats on. So we'll get back on the lathe, we'll get it down to a little under what the components need to be, and then we'll start applying the CA. A lot of people sand before they put the CA on. I personally don't. I don't find any need for it. So I'm not going to be sanding it. I'll just be turning it and then going right to applying the CA. So let's get started. Okay, so the components for this kit are 12.3 millimeters. So we're going to take the wood down to about 12.15 millimeters, and then we'll start applying the CA. So that gives us about 0.15 millimeters of CA then when we finish. So let's go ahead and get started. This is down to 13 millimeters right now, so I'll need to take a little more off of it. Check the size. Alright, so this side's good. We gotta take a little more off of this side. Alright, so that's down to the size that we need. It's about 12.15. So we're going to start with thin CA. I'll put a couple coats of that on, about 3 to 4, and then we'll build it up to what we need with the medium CA. Alright, so I'm going to be using just a paper towel folded up, and I'll just be holding it underneath with the lathe spinning, and I'll be applying the CA on top. So and then between each coat, I'm going to give a squirt or two of accelerator, and then wait about 15 seconds, 10-15 seconds, and apply the next coat. So let's get started. I'm going to be applying this at about 1300 RPM. Usually with the first 2 coats of thin, I will skip the accelerator just to help it soak into the wood a little more. Alright, now we're going to switch to medium CA. I'm going to apply as much of this as we need. Stay applying light coats, just smoothing it out with the paper towel. Make sure you have a new spot each time you apply a coat, because it'll help it get nice and smooth. If you have an old spot where it's hard, it won't apply right. So you give it just enough time to dry. You can tell when the CA is dry, when it becomes less of that shiny glare on it and more of like a dullish glare. Something when it dries causes it to be a little less shiny. Shiny makes a wet look. So just wait until it starts that shine, starts to turn like a dull shine, and then we're ready for the next coat. Go ahead and apply one more coat, and then we'll check the size of it. Okay, we'll go ahead and check the size now. Okay, so that measures about 12.5. So that's good. Now we'll turn it down to the exact size, which because we'll be buffing it and that'll be taking some off, we'll be using micro mesh. We'll actually turn it down a little more than what the size of the components are. Components are 12.3, so we'll turn it down to about 3.6, 3.8, and then we'll go on to buffing. So yeah, let's do that. Make sure you have a nice sharp skew for this, so it just takes it off nice and easy. It's basically just like a soft acrylic. Turns very much the same. Nice light coats. Make sure you can't see any shiny spots in it, because that'll mean there'll be a little dimple or something, and that'll show up in the end result. So take off a little more on this side. Okay, and now there's a slight lip on the side of this, each side. I'm going to take that off. Just make sure you're cutting in and not pushing against it, as that sometimes will separate the CA from the wood. Let's see. Alright, and now, because let's back down to the wood, so we've got to seal those ends, because if you don't, when you use the micro mesh to buff it, we'll be using it wet. So if that wet water gets into the wood, it'll cause the CA to separate from the wood. So we've got to make sure we seal those ends, and I'll just do that with just one little drop while it's spinning of CA on each end, and then that'll be just enough to seal, to keep the water from soaking in. So let's do that. Just apply a drop right in the corner. Okay, just a shot of accelerator. And we won't worry about using this hue after this, because the thin CA is already so thin, and it doesn't really matter. Okay. So now we're ready for the wet sanding with micro mesh. So I've got my micro mesh sheets here. I believe there's 9 of them. And then we'll just be dipping each one into some water between each coat with it, or each grit with the micro mesh. And then we'll be wiping the tube down between each one to get off any of the sanding dust. So I usually do not start with the lowest grit on the micro mesh. I usually skip the first 2 and go right onto the third one, because I find no need for the first 2. So we'll just dip the sheet in water, just go on there. So the first grit that I use, this is going to be a quick one. Just a quick one, just to barely sand that. And we're going to slowly build up time as we get to the higher grits. So the first one is going to be a low grit, or the lower grit is just going to be a quick little touch, and then we'll just slowly build up time with them towards the higher grits. That way we ensure we get out all the scratches from the previous sheet. And make sure you keep your sheet moving the whole time. You don't want to stand there, because you'll cause little etches and stuff to get in there by just leaving it in one spot. You got to constantly be moving it. Some people will sand lengthways in between grits. They'll stop the lathe and they'll sand lengthways. I have found no need for that, so I don't do that. Make sure you don't push too hard. Sort of let the micro mesh do the work, and just hold it up against it. You don't have to a lot of pressure on it or anything. Again, I'm doing this at about 1300 RPM. Now that I'm getting to the higher grits, I'm going to switch to a better cloth. Doesn't have as much residue and stuff on it, so I'm be sure not to scratch it. And see there, we're getting a nice shine. We've got 2 more grits to go. Here we have our final grip. Alright, buff a little bit with the rag. And the buffing process is finished. Inspect it. Alright. See there? Let's see if we can get a shine on it. There we go. Nice shine. Got almost no scratches in that. Absolutely no scratches. Nice, perfect shine. And there's still a little bit of CA buildup around the edges. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to take it on a sander and just barely sand it off. So I'll go to do that. And then we'll assemble it. And you can see the final results. Alright, I finished the pen. I assembled it after sanding the edges. And here it is. It's a Nouveau Sceptre from PSI. So it's got a nice shine on there, no scratches, absolutely no scratches, with a perfect fit. I'll have some better pictures at the end of this video here. So nice shine, and that's how I apply a CA finish. One thing to note, there are tons of different ways of applying a CA finish to a pen. So do your research, look around, find different videos, what different people suggest. You can go to penturners.org. They have several different, it's a forum, and you can ask any question. They have a whole library of everything. So experiment, find what works for you. I don't know if there's anybody that can just follow what someone else does and get the same finish. It's everyone's technique is going to be slightly different. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I do it. That works for me. So you find out what works for you, and if this works for you, let me know. Glad to hear from you. Thanks for watching.